Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Exploring Avatar. We're finally back. I know it's been a little bit, but the holidays, New Year's, the release of the movie. But thank you so much for showing up. I know it's either late or really early in some people's time zones, but we really appreciate it. It's actually just going to be me today. Drew, before the show, ended up under the weather, so just hoping he gets better soon. So yeah, it'll just be me annoying you guys today. I hope that's okay. But hello to everybody here in the chat. Just shout out really quick to Afton Child, Christina, Lord Adam, just everybody that's here. Thank you so much for showing up. And it's just kind of like a catch up episode, in a way, kind of like seeing what's happened the last 2 to 3 weeks since we've done an episode. The movie's been killing it at the box office, so every doubt that anybody had on the performance has been proven wrong, and that makes me so happy. We'll go over, what that entails, and then just what the future may bring in the Avatar franchise. But just wanted to take the time to say thank you. And how have you guys been? How were your holidays, your New Year's? Did you take any more trips back to Pandora during that time? Yeah, just let me know. Just let's kind of chat, see what's been going on with everybody. I know it's been a little bit, but let's just try to have some fun here tonight. Thank you so much. We have Christina saying, just notice Aonung has a tattoo on this art. Oh yeah, on the thumbnail, yeah. So maybe it's depicting a near future where he's come of age. I know it's very early concept art done by Weta Workshop. So but it looks pretty rad. So hopefully, maybe in the sequels, because I don't know if he's done. No, he hasn't, because when they come of age, like their Ikni Maya, their rite of passage, is they need to tame a skimwing and do some test with their either sister or brother Tulkun. And once they pass all that, then they get their first tattoo, and then that kind of like a sash, kind of like the one that you see Tonowari wear. So yeah, maybe that'll be his first tattoo or just something similar. But yeah, guys, let's get into a little bit of this, a little bit of the news. But first, let's see. Aftem Child says, my holiday was fine. My New Year was good too. I had a good birthday, and today I'm not feeling so good. Oh no. But wow, so you had the holidays, New Year's, and you had a birthday in this time? Wow, congratulations. Happy late birthday. But it sucks that you're not feeling so good, but I know I'm a little under the weather myself. I think it's just, we all got to go through it this time of year, but hey, at least we got good news in the Avatar front, so we're good when it comes to that. We have Christina saying, thinking about catching an IMAX viewing. It's pretty far, and I've had responsibilities. Been 4 times already, though. Wow, 4 times. That's amazing. That's awesome. But yeah, hopefully, hopefully you're able to get that IMAX viewing in before it leaves theaters. But don't worry, you got time. It's still gonna be there, well into next month. So we're okay on that front. Get better soon, Afton Child. Says Immortal Horse Fang. Yeah, get better soon, Afton Child. But all right. So obviously today, the big news, and it was the most important thing I wanted the movie to achieve. What's not really hit a certain number, but was just get to the point where 4 and 5 were secure. For a long time leading up to it, James Cameron would do interviews, and it was, if 2 and 3 are successful, we'll get to 4 and 5. They weren't greenlit for the longest time. Obviously, they shot a little bit of the first act of 4, just because there's going to be a 6-year time jump during the first act or after the first act of Avatar 4. But came out today from James Cameron himself. So it says James Cameron says Avatar 2 is profitable and he'll make the sequels. So the visionary director says The Way of Water will easily pass the break-even point at the box office, and now he can't wiggle out of making more sequels. And this comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter. So yeah, guys, it's official. And currently, as of today, um, before or with tallying up today's totals, I think it was at 1.54, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And it has become the number 9 highest grossing movie of all time, beating the Avengers, the first Avengers movie. So right now it's currently sitting at the 9th highest grossing movie of all time. And it's incredible, guys. It really is. Like, that first initial weekend came out, and I know people were still kind of iffy. They were like, I don't know. It came a little bit under projections, and it did, but it could just be that they just projected a little too high. But what we kind of knew, what some of us knew, especially if you knew the numbers from the first movie, was, the opening weekend for Avatar 1 was only 77. For a movie you think that is going to gross eventually, over 2 billion, you think 77, you're like, no way, that would be almost considered a, for a big budget movie like this, like a flop. But with these movies, what it is, it's word of mouth, it's consistent, it's not really dropping week to week. Whereas most of the blockbusters we see nowadays, they're very front loaded. It's that first 2 weekends, and that's pretty much it. It really just keeps drastically falling after that. But now with Avatar, and honestly, lightning has struck twice. That's incredible, guys. Like the fact the first movie did it, and just to put that into perspective, like for a movie to do the numbers that the first Avatar did, it took over 20 MCU movies, like over 20 movies of buildup, and you getting invested in those characters and things like that, and needing to see how, with Infinity War and Endgame, how that was gonna, end in a way, even though it wasn't really ending, but like closing that chapter of the book for, especially for certain characters. It took that to finally match up get numbers close and exceeding it for a little bit of the original Avatar. So to now see, the second movie doing it again, who knows if it's going to get up there in those types of like late 2 billion numbers, almost 3. But just the fact that it's going to cross 2 billion, it's crazy with everything we've heard in the last 13 years. It's really it really justifies the wait. It justifies, all us fans, being like, nope. Most of us were just like, we're gonna let the movie speak for itself. We were confident that the box office was gonna be there. We were confident on the quality of the movie. I mean, look at that. The first movie, it has stood the test of time 13 years later. Just this year seeing it in remaster, it holds up. It holds up better than most movies coming out today. And The Way of Water is going to hold up for 13 years from now. This is the new benchmark. You guys just saw it, with a lot of the CGI, a lot of the behind the scenes. Can't wait to dive into hopefully some full length documentaries on the making of the movie. Just a few snippets we've already gotten online have already been amazing. But yeah, just the innovation behind the scenes, on the screen, it's just it's incredible. So hello to Brianna Brown. Thank you for showing up like you always do. We have McLean Keller saying I'm gonna go see it for a third time tomorrow. Awesome, man. Awesome. So I'm glad you guys have enjoyed the movie. That's awesome. I've loved it. I think 4 or 5 viewing in for myself. Plenty more planned to go as soon as everybody starts feeling better, of course. But you know, the weather, sicknesses, nothing has been keeping this box office down, and um, that's exciting. We get 4 and 5 confirmed to come. We can finally breathe, a sigh of relief. So for me, that was the most important. So I'm ecstatic. I hope you guys are as well. Adam Nisa says probably seeing it a 4th time next week. Incredible. That's awesome. It's great to see, so many. Usually, people I talk to, like, maybe they see a movie 2 3 times, but I was always the one in my group when I really liked the movie. I'd be that person to go see it, 3 4 4 times. So to see that a lot of you here in the chat, like, have reached those numbers as well, and I'm not alone. That's awesome to see. That's great. And that's what this movie has. It has that rewatchability, and that's what's helping it. That's what's both movies. I always catch myself finding a little detail here and there that I didn't find before. Because that first one, the first showing ever, I'm the most like, not really wanting to have my eyes leave the center of the screen. I don't know if any of you guys are the same. Because I'm so locked into the story and everything that's going on. In other viewings, I could finally relax, and those end up being, I don't know if more enjoyable, but at least more, um, a little more exciting sometimes, just because I could finally, look to the, this side of the screen and let me notice what's over there, and it's like, oh, I never saw that before. So I love it because they put so much detail into these movies that even with the first one, years later, a lot of people are seeing stuff for the first time, like little minute details. But let's see. So that was great. That's great news. We got those confirmed. Uh, I made a video about this part right here. I don't know if everybody saw it, but so with getting 4 and 5, the schedule will have to be altered though, because if you really think about it, um, the schedule we've known for I think over a year has been that we were getting a movie every 2 years. And for 2 and 3, as soon as we finally were getting two, I did, trust that we would get three 2 years later, just because they did shoot them back to back. Um, but I really didn't think that for 4 and 5, because in my head I was just like, where are you factoring in, actually shooting 4 and 5, which will probably take 1 to 2 years itself just to capture. You got to do a performance capture shoot of the movie, and then you have to do the live action shoot, just like they did for 2 and 3. So you have to stick that in somewhere. You got to factor it in somewhere. So I never really trusted that we were legit gonna get, you know, Avatar 4 2 years after 3, and then 5 2 years after 4. And here, James Cameron kind of confirms it. So if we read over it, he says, "We know exactly what we're doing. We know what these movies are going to be. We just have to go through the process of getting them done. So ideally, 2 years from now, Avatar 3 comes out. Ideally, maybe 3 years after that, Avatar 4 comes out. And then ideally, maybe a couple years after that, Avatar 5 comes out. So we won't be away from the marketplace. So we'll have that sense of a persistent world, an ongoing story that I think people want. If they're going to invest in these characters, if they're going to invest in this world, we want to give it to them at a regular cadence. That was the game plan. And that's why one of the reasons we were gone so long. It's one big story. It's really one big story, but it's like episodic television. Each one has its own proximal resolution. The character problems continue across the cut. So there we go. Just in there in the middle of that, that paragraph, we get right there, he thinks already that ideally maybe 3 years after Avatar 3 we'll get 4. I'm honestly thinking, and it's okay, it's totally fine. Trust me, we just waited 13 years to finally get Avatar 2. So I think it's totally fine, and they can have all the time. Please take the time that you need. So don't get me wrong there, but I think, in like, my guess is I'd probably say a 5 year, 4 to 5 year gap between 3 and 4, just because I think once they actually start doing 4 and 5, I'm sure they're gonna want to innovate again. It's James Cameron. That's what he does. That's what his team does. and we love them for it. So I'm sure they'll want to innovate in some way. And he keeps saying that 4 and 5, those are the real, those are the real big dogs in this saga. He says 1 through 3 are still just kind of setting the table, and the main courses are 4 and 5. So basically, you're getting everything, all the players on the field with 1 through 3, and we're really gonna have fun with them for 4 and 5. So those are gonna be, huge, undertakings. And honestly, I can't even, uh, think about in what way he's gonna try to innovate. I don't know if it's due to a certain region, kind of like with the Way of Water. It was a lot of the underwater stuff and everything having to deal with water. And he has said we're gonna get desert, polar, boreal forest. So we're getting a different, like a different forest, not like the type of rainforest that we got before in the first movie. And then we're getting mountains. I don't know if those are, I'm assuming probably like floating mountains. Like who knows, maybe there's in another part of Pandora they actually live either on top of the mountains or they have just made their homes on the floating mountains. They could just be saying like regular mountain ranges. So that one is, I'm a little hazy on that one. I don't know if any of you have any idea if it's either like floating mountains or just like regular mountain ranges. But he did confirm the other one. So it's kind of like with each movie, we're gonna see a new thing. But the main thing here is don't expect 4 just 2 years after 3. They gotta film 4 and 5. And there's no way that in a 2 year time span you're gonna film 4 and 5 and get all the post-production done on 4. Like, no, I don't even want that. That sounds right now like that, like the production cycle that something like the MCU has. And obviously it's causing problems with like visual effects artists. So I'd rather them just take their time and everything. But let's see what some of you here have to say. uh Adam Nee says, I'm glad we're getting back to the good old days when Jim did a movie every 3 years instead of every 13. Yeah, right, for sure, exactly. I mean, we just got 2 years to wait, 2 Christmases. It'll be another great Christmas present. Not the end of this year, but next year. So it's crazy to think that just another massive Avatar movie is literally just 2 years away, and then 2 more on top of that. I mean, those are most likely, like we said, are gonna take longer to get to those, but who cares? Like we'll have, right now we already have 2. We're gonna have 3 Avatar movies. Like this is really gonna, end up being like a huge franchise. Like it's kind of crazy to wrap your head around it sometimes when for so long we just had the one movie, and now we're gonna have 2. Obviously, we can't watch the second one at home as easily as we can the first, but we'll get there. I assume probably around April we'll probably get the home release, streaming release, things like that. Just the weird guy says, I saw people saying that the Way of Water lacked character interactions, and I kind of agree. There is character development, but I love to see more interactions. Um, I mean, I don't know. I didn't leave like the showing feeling I didn't get enough character interaction. Like for me, I think I just wanted more. I like for me, honestly, I don't even feel the runtime. I don't know if it's the same for some of you guys. Like, I know the obviously in the second acts when a lot of the exploration, the Loak, meeting Payakan and things like that, and people consider it to be like the slow part of the movie. But I'm enthralled every time. And I think for me, what happens is I feel like it ends too fast, and it's crazy to think because it's a 3 hour movie. So for me, I don't really feel there wasn't much character interaction because I think between the young cast, you do get a lot of interaction throughout the movie. I think maybe you don't get enough of the adults, but but I also don't agree that it's that like some characters have taken a back seat, because to me it just seems like it's normal. You're in a way, you're not fully yet, but you're steadily working towards passing the torch on to the younger cast. So, and then they needed to flesh out these kids. These are brand new characters, so you have to devote a big chunk of the movie to them to develop them. So I don't really think characters like Jake and Neytiri really took a back seat. To me, it just kind of felt organic. I don't know if anybody else felt different. And then we have Afton Child here, who actually asked if I think the desert is for the Ash people. And honestly, I think so. I think in a way they could easily like work in that a part of it is maybe like this region. I know some people in the comments in my video that I did of it, when I talked about him, announcing the Ash people and that it was going to be a villainous Navi clan. Some mentioned that maybe it would be like this section of Pandora that just really Awa hasn't touched it in a long time. It's barren. And I kind of maybe thought, it took me back to thinking to, I don't know if a lot of you know and we'll cover it here later on the channel, the Cirque du Soleil play, the Taruk, the First Flight, and depicting the Navi, I believe, that became the first Taruk Makto. And what it was for was because it was actually a volcanic eruption that was threatening the Tree of Souls. So like, the lava and everything. And that's what it was. It wasn't really like an enemy, like, like now the Navi face the human enemies. It was more like nature itself. And that's what he had to, it's the whole uh play, not play, but like the whole show is him going to different clans and gathering certain like it's really fascinating. And then towards the end, he becomes the first one. And so it's what I thought when I heard about that, volcanoes and things like that. I'm like, what if something like a scenario like that did play out into another region and they just weren't so lucky, and maybe for some, now their area is just completely barren. And we know from the information on Bridgehead City that if a patch of Pandora is barren, that means Awa has no grip, like no power there. Awa doesn't reach it. And that's why around the perimeter of Bridgehead City, they keep what do you call it? Not fumigating, but you know what I mean, where they keep like basically spraying the perimeter so that nothing grows. So they make sure that it stays barren for like 2 miles away from the walls, like all around Bridgehead City. So that's how Awa doesn't have any power there. And I'm just wondering if just some kind of catastrophe happened to this certain clan, and maybe they feel others didn't come to their aid or something like that, and now they're just kind of bitter. I don't know. It just kind of took me to something like that. I don't know if anybody else has an idea, but yeah, I can easily see it being worked into the desert region that they'll show us. And then we have Brianna Brown saying, "I wonder what events might happen for us to see all those other regions." My theory I've had for a while is that I think, to me, Bridgehead City is kind of reflective of like, it's the franchise's Death Star. So, and I believe it's just going to be like that. You see, I detailed, Awa has no grip there. If you read the thing, like the defenses are like very, very good. And I think it's going to take more than just, either a water clan, or I think by the end, you're going to need the help of all these different, the Navi and clans from all these different regions. They'll have to come together, and we're probably going to just have some all out war, in like either 4 or 5, just to uh, really be able to take that down, because the way they're at now, they really don't have the might to do it at all. I mean, we saw that it was they gave Quaritch just one sea dragon and some sea wasps and his recom squad, and that took right there like the Sully family, the Metkayina, and that's just a tiny portion of the manpower and the firepower that Bridgehead City itself has in store for them. So yeah, it might take literally all of Pandora coming together to do that. Misfit says, I just want to see more of Jake Sully being Olo Ektan for the Ometekaya. You know, I could be wrong, but I'm thinking that's probably just not going to happen anymore. I don't think it's in the cards anymore. Technically, like they said, it stated in the movie, he should be dead. Because that's when technically pass on the mantle. So I don't know. I'm thinking they're just maybe one of the Soli children in the future, will go back to the Ometekaya. But I think for the most part, the majority of the Soli family, I think that's it. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe by the end of the saga, they can finally call that place home again. But I just don't see it being in leader roles anymore. I don't see them wanting to do that, like to give the leadership to somebody else and then to take it away. So, Christina says, never been crazy about desert stuff, but I'll love a polar region and non-jungle forest. That will be cool. Yeah, exactly. Like, I think visually, aside from the desert, and I know, with the team that they got, I mean, just seeing the art and just what they have come up with for the Metkayina, and then building out that whole biome. So applying that to even a desert, I'm sure that they'll come up with amazing stuff that we just probably can't even think of. But yeah, easily I think the regions that just sound more visually exciting right off the bat is, yeah, like I'm really excited for the polar. Just because no pun intended, it's just the polar opposite of like what we've seen. It's just like snow, super cold. Like I can't wait to go to some kind of drastic difference like that and really see. And like you said, these will also have the differences that the Metkayina had, where like it have these the differences in the physiology. Not just their villages or whatever, but like literally on their bodies too. So to see how throughout all these thousands of years, uh, certain clans have adapted to their actual environment, it's just going to be crazy to see them, what kind of polar, adaptions you can have, ones for desert, for the other type of forest. So the mountains, it's just gonna be incredible. And they've already designed everything, so it's just like I'm so jealous. That's somewhere over there in Lightstorm, all this art with all these different regions. It's like I just want to see the art. Give me a peek at the art. Like that's it. I can't wait for our first, sneak peek concept art for Avatar 3. Hopefully by this year's Christmas. So like, the end of this year, hopefully they kind of give that to us, kind of like throwing a bone. Similar to how early we started to see some concept art for Avatar 2. So I'm hoping. But and then not only that, but we got some information on, in terms of talking about the future of the franchise. We also got a little bit more information on, the other big thing is Frontiers of Pandora. It's not a movie, but it's the next huge, AAA video game for the franchise. And Ubisoft back in the day when the first movie came out, they gave us Avatar the game, their video game. And honestly, I enjoyed it, back on the PS3 years ago. I even played it in 3D because that's when 3D was taken over at the time. So 3D TVs had just come out. And if you guys remember that back in the day, some PS3 games were actually you could play them in stereoscopic 3D on your new 3D TVs, and that was one of them. So I just had a blast playing that game. More than we probably should have, but it's like, hey, it's what we got. It was still fun. Yeah, the story wasn't canon, but it was amazing to like play through that in 3D, just coming out of seeing the movie in 3D and blowing my mind. So anybody else here actually play the game in 3D as well, or am I kind of alone on that front? I know Drew has, and I'm jealous because Drew still has a 3D TV and I don't. Mine broke over the years, and they haven't made any more. They discontinued the whole 3D aspect of with the TVs. So I'm hoping this kind of brings a resurgence to it, because I'd love to play this new game in 3D and enjoy these movies at home in 3D again. Aside, of course, from like either projectors or some VR headsets. I know you can watch the movie in 3D like that as well, but just the TV. Anamnesia says, I played it in 3D only once. By the way, I think it was acknowledged they were canon. I mean, hey, if they were, I honestly, I haven't looked back at the game in a long time. I just remember, I know it took place like before the events of the movie were supposed to take place. So I don't know if, Abel Ryder stayed as part of the canon. I don't really remember that, but it was fun, to say the least. And yes, he did ride a Taruk, a Leonopteryx at the end of the game, but they kind of went around it that he didn't actually like bond with one. He was kind of like, it's kind of like they just agreed to, work together for a little bit. If I remember correctly, I haven't played it in a long time. So he didn't technically become, the Taruk Makto before Jake Sully. But so we got a little bit of new information on Frontiers of Pandora. That's one I'm really looking forward to because the trailer looks incredible. It's supposed to be open world. So I'll just show this while I'm talking about it. So it looks great. It my favorite type of games the last, years, 10 years, 20 years have been open world games. Those are my favorite type, just because the freedom they give you. And then to match open world with an Avatar game, that just sounds like perfection. Like, I think that's our dream. That's what we want to do. Like, just have the freedom to explore Pandora, at least some regions of Pandora, because it's just going to be in the the western frontiers of Pandora. So it's not all of it. Hopefully maybe some expansions down the road. But it looks incredible. So we did get a little bit of info. So it's now scheduled to come out between this April to March or April of next year. I'm thinking, once again, because we didn't get a trailer at the recent video game awards in December that just passed. Usually they drop a lot of trailers for maybe some games coming up in the next year. Because we haven't gotten one in so long, I'm doubtful that it's really, either this spring or this summer. Maybe there's potential for this fall, but I'm thinking it's going to be an early 2024 release. And it's fine, just like with the movies, I'm perfectly fine with them taking their time. But here we got some info. It says new details concerning the upcoming Avatar Frontiers of Pandora video game have surfaced on Reddit. The game, which Ubisoft is developing, aims to bring Avatar's Pandora into a fully explorable open world medium. Though little else has been revealed about the gameplay thus far, recently a Reddit user, which their name I guess is the Snitch spelled backward, and according to different sites that I went on, they have gotten a lot of things right in the past. They have taken to gaming leaks and rumors on Reddit to share their alleged knowledge of the game's development. The original post has since been deleted. But according to IGN, this user has been responsible for several verified leaks in the past. So we go on to the other portion of it. Let's see here. Ba-ba-ba. One second. Let me pull up the second one of that. All right. So here we go. So it says the user stated that as one could expect from a game where you play as a native Navi, the player will be able to tame animals and use them for traversal and combat. They say the game will have looting and crafting mechanics, which, is not unusual for a Ubisoft game. Another claim was that rather than having quest markers on the map, players will have to explore areas to find them themselves, saying it's less do this and more figure it out. They also said the world would be dynamic, with story progression shaping the landscape and weather events affecting gameplay, such as being unable to fly one's Ikran during a storm, for example. Frontiers of Pandora was initially intended to release at the end of 2022 to coincide with the release of Avatar The Way of Water. Then in July, Ubisoft announced during an earnings call that Frontiers of Pandora had been delayed sometime in 2023 or 24. The game, which has been confirmed to share the same canon as the Avatar films, will explore the western frontiers of Pandora, featuring both jungle and grassland environments. And then in the last little portion, it says Frontiers of Pandora depicts a clan living on the plain who appears to live alongside a species of giant grassland animal that has not been seen in the films. While the animal is shown lying down and not in great detail, it almost appears to resemble an elephant. Uh, the way Pandora's Tulkun people resemble Earth's baleen whales. The trailer also highlighted Pandora's lush landscapes and other unique fauna seen in the James Cameron films. And it's coming for next gen only, so you're talking PS5, Xbox Series X, and PCs. So you can't get it for PS4 or the Xbox One or your Switch, of course. So at least you have time to secure PS5 and such. It's the main reason why I got a PS5 because I thought it was coming out last year. But quickly with those thoughts right there, what do you guys think about that? I mean, I know Ubisoft games. I mean, I like them. I like some of the open world Assassin's Creed. I know a lot of people don't. They kind of feel, the map with just markers all over the place, and you kind of just feel overwhelmed on what to go and do. So that to me, that sounds great. That and here I'll show you guys. We're also, of course, gonna have the bioluminescence back in the forest in the game. So that's looking great right there. But yeah, I like that it's more going to be kind of encouraging the exploration, of Pandora rather than just already just having a marker all over the place on the map. So that's cool. You kind of have to discover things for yourself, discover probably some side quests or just interesting locations or things like that. But speaking of, let's see. So we have that shot. We have another great shot of them on the plains here. Like those are new creatures right there that we haven't seen before as well. But I mean, can you imagine? I hope it's later this year, just to have something to hold us over. Because as soon as I get this, the movies are amazing, but obviously, it's just like that, like a 3-hour experience, and it's very fixed on what you see. But like this, just having the freedom to, on any day that we want, just being able to enter Pandora and basically you could play to your heart's content, and go where you want to go. That's incredible. In the trailer, you can even see them interact with, of course, you can tame animals. You see them interact with plants. So to me, it just sounds super exciting. What do you guys think? And Amnesia says the plot twist from Ubisoft will be that natural resources and crafting are free, but unobtainium and RDA tech will cost real money. Oh man. Juan Gao, that's good to know. Since PS4, it just lends to another debacle like it did with Cyberpunk. Yeah, exactly. Like I really would love this game to avoid that whole Cyberpunk release debacle. So it's like, no, just take your time, deliver, a polished video game, just like we get the very polished movies. So I'm fine with it being early 2024. And heck, there you go. Like we'll have an amazing 2024. Early that year, you get this game. Late that year, you get the Avatar 3. So we'll just have 2023 to kind of, hold over until then, but we can make it. We just got a movie, we have some new books, and who knows, what else can come out, later this year. And then, so here's like a look at some of the Navi characters. I mean, they look great to me. And that creature they were talking about, especially now after seeing the Way of Water, because we initially saw the trailer for this game, we're like, wow, it looks like an amazing, like huge creature that they're talking about there in the description. Let me bring that one up, which is this one right here. So, but now seeing, we saw the movie and we saw the Tokuns, another like incredible, like huge, massive creature that was sentient. I wonder if these could kind of be, in the similar vein to that. But I mean, they look incredible already. Like I remember when I first watched the trailer, I just kind of thought that was just, part of their home or something, until the character kind of goes up to it and puts its hand on what's the head right there, and then the eye opens. I was like, oh my god. So that's going to be incredible. And then here we have like this, I know for some people and me initially as well, because they confirmed it's only like a first person point of view, because usually for open world games I like the third person, kind of like where you can see your character in front of you, just because, especially if it has any kind of RPG mechanics, and maybe you customize your character and stuff like that. To be I like to usually be able to see like all the customization I've done to the character, but this will be a more immersive, experience, just being first person like this. And we gotta admit, it looks great. Like that looks great. A little a Navi about to, loading up the bowl. We got some Stern Beast there in the background. So it does look great. And then we do, of course, have the RDA. And so now that we touched on the RDA aspect of this game, we did, like they stated right there, it is confirmed to be canon. And Jon Landau actually talked about it. And he said that it's canon. It's never going to be anything that's, touches anything they're doing with the movies. It's going to be it's going to be in its own area of Pandora. Like they said, the Western frontier. So it's going to be completely separate. But he said there is going to be obviously some connection. They are going to reference General Ardmore. So we saw her in the Avatar: The Way of Water, and he states the story of this game will take place in that 1 year time span. Remember, early on in Avatar: The Way of Water when the RDA arrive, and then we get the 1 year later, text on the screen. So the story of this game will be after the RDA did come back, but it's going to be the interim of that year that we just kind of skipped over during the movie, which the High Ground supposedly takes place in that year as well, where we got some of that spider backstory. So that's when this takes place. So it does make sense now, because it's after the RDA did return. It's just going to be like how they, how that return affects the Western frontier, and we get to discover all that. So I mean, and this looks great. You won't be able to play as the RDA at all. It's just going to be from the Navi perspective. But I mean, the shot still looks incredible. RDA tech. I mean, we got to admit, it's always amazing. And here's the last, towards the end of the trailer, you got this amazing image, and can you imagine like just being able to, I mean, with these graphics, it doesn't even have to be the greatest game ever. Like as long as it's good. It's like I'm not asking for. I just want the experience of some of these things, like the open world of Pandora, the being able to like that tame your Ikran and fly around. Like, come on, like that. I think will you know be enough for some people, and just hopefully the whole package is good. But yeah, that's some of the stuff this year. Hopefully that I'm excited for. What do you guys think about all this? Let's see. Misfits asks, how big actually is Pandora with all these different types of biomes? I mean, we have the sizes. I mean, I don't know these off the top of my head, of course, like any numbers, but um, so we know the size of Pandora, but obviously we haven't known everything. The way they equated it was at first, very early on with these sequels, they thought they would have to go to the other moons because you know how it's just one of the moons surrounding uh the gas giant Polyphemus. They thought maybe they were going to jump to different moons to do some of these different, environments or something, but basically they came to the realization like, hey, here on Earth, we can travel all our lives, for people that can travel the world, and you'll still, see very little of the all the wonders that Earth has to offer. So they kind of took that approach, like we'll just, basically Pandora is just a mirror of Earth. So it also will just have tons of environments just like on Earth. Like we have all those environments here. So that's how they're treating it, instead of needing a desert planet or an ice planet, sort of like Star Wars, Hoth and Tatooine. They're like, no, like we'll have all the biomes but still be part of Pandora itself. But yeah, and I'm sure like by the time we get to the last movie in the saga, I'm sure we'll get reference books like that, like maybe give us topographical maps. Because I love looking at maps and just the fact, even if it's just a fictional location, I just love that stuff. Like in my head, like being able to relate, like okay, so this area is here, and when we saw this, that it was right here, and I know it's insignificant to some people, but I'm a nerd for that type of stuff. So can't wait to in the future get more and more. I'm sure they really have to flesh it out more and more before they started giving that to us. But yeah, I can't wait to see like maps and things like that, being able to fully chart, like to finally one day get like, obviously how we have the giant map of Earth. Just can't wait to get like a full, map of Pandora like that, where we have all the regions depicted and every, continent, if you can call it that. And we have Brianna Brown asking, do you think we will see good humans on Earth maybe in the sequels or in 3? I mean, you kind of already saw, like, even with the first movie, second movie, there's always going to be good humans there. And that's the thing where I think it's going to grow more and more as the sequels progress, or where, not all of the humans that are there agree with the methods of the RDA, or, how they're going about everything. And I just think at some point later in the sequels, it's going to grow to be the majority, where right now it's the minority. You kind of saw it there with the Tulkun, the scientist guy, played by Jermaine Clement, where you could see it in him. He wasn't really agreeing with what they were doing, but at the end of the day, look at that. He was outnumbered. Like, what's his opinion really going to do for the situation? But hopefully that just becomes a bigger voice. And that's how we can eventually get to the state that we'll have harmony because basically generations later, you know, we will have that where humans and Navi are cooperating on Pandora, in restoration. After all these wars are done, all these battles are done. You know, that's what you're doing when you go to Pandora, the world of Avatar there at Florida. The land at the animal Disney's Animal Kingdom is you're a tourist. You're a tourist now as obviously a good human, but you're going there to just like that. It's nothing, they're going there to just basically learn, help, you know, and hopefully bring that back to Earth. And so obviously at some point, because, Jon Landau did still state that that's canon, it's just many, many, many years into the future. Initially, when the land first opened, I heard 100 years from the after the first movie is when that land took place. And then I read another thing that said 2 generations. When I looked up what a generation is normally in terms of years, they state it's around 30 years because that's the where you can grow up from a child to an adult and have your own children. So they equate about 30 years to being a generation. So 2 generations after the first movie would be around 60 years if they keep it at that. So we Avatar: The Way of Water takes place 15 years after the first movie, and then if we count the 6-year time jump he's talking about in Avatar 4 at some point, that would mean there's 39 years unaccounted for until you get to the point, where you have this whole new corporation now just bringing humans as tourists, and they're all just, you know, working together, working to restore it. So and at some point, in a way, if you think about it now, if the goal of the land is kind of like in the story is to get those humans that go visit Pandora to bring some of that home to come back to Earth and want to, preserve their, you know, Earth, it gets you to think, well, at some point, we're going to have to find it. There's going to be the solution in these sequels of Earth is not dying anymore. So at some point, Mother Nature is going to come back on Earth, which is probably why one or two of these sequels will go back to Earth. Um, so I mean, that's just like a thought I had, like maybe something in 5, because you got to think about it. If many generations later, it's taking place where humans are still going, but now just as a conservation group and just to kind of learn. Um, if Earth is already at the brink of dying now in Avatar 2, many many years before All right, sorry about that, guys. But yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, sorry about that. I had a little bit of a glitch, so my audio cut out for a little bit. Let's see here. Misfit says it makes zero sense for Jake to go back to Earth. How would he get there? How would he breathe? So many reasons why Jake wouldn't go to Earth. Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't know. Um, I don't know if it would be them kidnapping, one of the younger cast or something that would really motivate them to go. And then, like you said, how would they go? I don't know if they would just commandeer some kind of RDA vehicle or tech to go back. I don't know. I'm sure, we'll get there. So, yeah, there's a way for them to breathe. Like Juan Gal says, there are like rebreathers, things like that. It's just the why and the how. So those two are like how would they get there and like why would they go? So, but before all that, we still got through Avatar 3 and hey, that one's teasing a villainous Navi clan, so that's going to be another new interesting element. So, like you said, he's like in the first two movies, I depicted Navi as good, human as bad, but now we're going to start seeing those shades of gray within them. So I'm just excited to see where the story goes. I mean, like probably none of us can really anticipate where it's gonna go, and I'm all here for any twists and turns along the way. So after the time jump, the kids might be adults by then. Yeah, some of them will be like at that adult, borderline, especially the ones that are like 14, 15 right now. They'll be, basically adults by that point. Some of the Sully family will see Earth. I would not bet on Jake being one of them, though, says Anamnesis. Hmm, very interesting. I know I did get a comment on one of my videos recently, I think today. I hope nobody else in the Sully family dies or bring back Netayam, but as much as, obviously, we wouldn't want more tragedy for the Sully family. It's just akin to real life, and that's what Jim kind of wants to depict. And so Netayam won't be coming back, but I like that. In a way, they were still able to see him there at the end. Like it was still very beautiful and very touching. And we're it sucks to say, but I think we're still not through the full tragedy that the Sully family will have to endure throughout this saga. I think there's more tragedy to come. So it's just gonna, you know, but at the end of the day, I think it's gonna be for the better of Pandora, for the better of maybe Earth. I don't know, at least for Pandora itself. And that's for most of us. That's what we really care about, at least in the story of the Avatar franchise. I've had this theory that I think Jake has been doing monologues and his thoughts from like years in the future. So I think he at least will get to the point where I don't know if he sees the time of great sorrow end, but at least he gets very deep into it. Because let's not forget, like, remember in the first, I think it was just in the first issue of the High Ground, not issue, the volume, where basically they have those panels where they're showing the family flying on the Ikrans, and his blue monologue boxes are kind of like, or dialogue boxes, monologues, yeah. Kind of like, this is the time of great sorrow, and we're basically here's the panel of the whole family riding on Ikrans, to show you, what we lost. Like I gotta basically show you what we had. So that's why you're seeing the whole family intact there. So and I think he's talking from years in the future. Like I said, I don't know if he lives to see the end of this time of great sorrow, which now encompasses what sounds like, this all these sequels. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if it's one of those like, you know, uh reflective, King Conan, and very old King Conan, kind of like reflecting on all his life and everything. One of those moments where Jake is just kind of thinking past, on all the loss and everything they had to go through the time of great sorrow. So it'd be interesting to see if he gets to see the end of it, or if he just gets like, deep into it to be already reflecting like that. Yeah, exactly, Brianna Brown. James Cameron is going to kill off anyone to further the story. And I think that's what it is, because I think it's not just killing somebody just to kill them. It's James and the whole writing team, of course. But because I think this is going to be something that Loak will have to, live with, and it's just a very interesting detail. If you notice, sorry guys, if you notice with Payakan, he's kind of having to live with that guilt himself. That's the whole thing with Payakan and his story, was he felt basically now he's outcast because they consider like it was his fault, for like the deaths of all those Navi and all those other Tulkun are on his hands. So even though he didn't really kill them, they considered it like the death was on Payakan's hands. And you get that beautiful shot of, when Netayam is he dies, you look, the camera pans down at Loak's hands, and you see all of Netayam's blood on them. So it's gonna be something that that at least Loak is gonna keep. I mean, the whole family, is gonna keep dealing with and having to persevere through. But like that little shot showed you that he might think going forward, at least in 3, and that death is on his hands. So it's not something we're gonna be clear of like right away. Each death really is gonna mean something. So who knows what it'll mean for Jake and Neytiri going forward. At least we got to see them have some kind of, not closure per se, but like they got that moment where they were able to see them, and I'm glad we kind of got to see that as well, not just us being told that that's something that they can do, because we kind of saw that for the first time with the Sute's Path comic series, where we learn all about more about Silwanen, Neytiri's sister that passed away, and how Sute, like that's the one he was actually in love with. It wasn't really Neytiri, and then he eventually gets to, you can really see, you can interact with the spirit of those people, when you touch like that, like you connect to the tree of voices, tree of souls, things like that. But to finally see it in the movie, it was awesome to see. It was beautiful. Yeah, exactly. I think like Brianna Brown says, it will make Neytiri stronger and tougher, and I think that will apply to the whole Sully family, and so that'll be it. I'm so interested to see where this goes. I think this is, of all the major franchises out there right now, it's just, this is the one where I can't um just can't wait to see the progression of this story, and what the events of this movie, how they're going to affect 3 and beyond, and just like he says, like he equates it to like an episode, like episodic television. That's kind of like how we're at right now, where it's like, oh man, we can't wait to see the next, you know, episode or whatever. So yeah, I'm like really intrigued to really see how this story goes. Don't really want to, think I have it all mapped out in my head, because I love just being taken wherever they want to take the story. So I can't wait. But yeah, guys, just kind of wanted to touch base with you guys once again, and obviously we're gonna have these more frequent now again. Those holidays, year's end, New Year's, all that stuff is over, and we'll obviously have Drew back as well next week. And yeah, we'll just whatever you guys want to start going through. I kind of was throwing Drew the idea of maybe even going through some of these new books that we got, because we got a huge art book, and we also got a huge or like the visual dictionary that has a lot of lore and things like that. So I've been doing videos on that, like on the lore of like some of the character profiles and things like that. So if you guys would like some streams where we kind of go through some of the design process on some of the whether it's a character or creatures, things like that, you know we would have a blast doing it, as well as visual dictionary stuff, like what's actually the lore. The art book is fun because you kind of get like where they're narrowing down it's their process of going through the design phases and their thinking behind everything. And then with the visual dictionary, it's like, here's the finished product on everything, and you get to learn all the lore. There's so many interesting things in there that you don't get from just seeing the movie. Even if you saw the movie 10 times, 20 times, like, really it's filled with information that you'll never know unless you read these little things, and all the thinking behind it is just incredible to read about, and to see what the lore is and everything. So so if any of you guys don't have these books or don't have access to them, those would be some fun streams if you guys are down for something like that. Let's see. You guys are discussing what color the ash people would be. Aftem Child says something like a reddish, grayish color, or a pale blue. Yeah, maybe something like a pale blue. It's gonna be interesting. If it's something that, because of maybe so much like actual ash in their environment, their biome, maybe it just became now like that's one of how their body kind of adapted. Like it's become kind of like pale. It just kind of like resembles. So it just be very interesting to see how they go about that. So, man, I can't wait. And like, yeah, exactly, Brianna Brown. How now we think Varong is going to be part of this clan, and as well as we don't have a name for his character, but David Thules, he has played. So he has played good characters and some evil characters as well. So obviously we didn't know for a long time which camp he was going to play, but he did state that he was a Na'vi being introduced in Avatar 3. But now that we know about this new clan, I'm more than certain that these two characters are part of this new clan. So, and David Thules does know how to play an evil character. So that's going to be awesome. And then to see Varong and see, what Una Chaplin delivers. Can't wait to see all of that. So Misfits would love to see some reviews of some Avatar collectibles on this channel, and yes, more content on the comics. We could also provide that on some of the streams as well, because honestly, more than I even have, Drew has the entire collection of the original toys, like the ones, the batch from the first movie. He has all of those. He has the majority of the ones that have come out. I have all of wave 1 of these McFarlane toys, and a couple of the wave 2. He has more of the wave 2 than I do. So yeah, that'd be fun too. And I do have a playlist on all the comic recaps on this channel if you do want to look that up. The only one I haven't finished, I think it's the most recent, like Adapt or Die. I think I just need the last 2 recaps on that. But I do have the recaps on all the other comic series. So the Free Comic Book Day, the little story of how he even bonds with Taruk. That's a really great one where he kind of reflects on his brother, Jake does, and things like that. You got Sute's Path. You got The Next Shadow. You have like I have some issues of the adapter die. And here on the stream, we did the volume 1 and 3 of Avatar the High Ground. So, but yeah, thank you guys for joining me. I think we'll kind of end it there for tonight. Hope you guys had some fun, kind of having, talking back and forth. Once again, talking some Avatar. So, uh, been itching to talk to you guys for a while. It's been a minute. So it's good to see that you guys still are back after 2 or 3 weeks. So, but the hiatus is over, and now we're gonna be regular again from here on out. So I just want to say thank you for everyone joining in tonight, talking amongst yourselves, and obviously chatting with me. It makes it super fun. And yeah, we'll just keep it going, guys, the rest of this year. We'll find things to talk about, keep the conversation of Avatar going. And basically, we're on a journey now to the game, Frontiers of Pandora, which we get a beautiful shot up here once again. And, Avatar 3 next year. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining, and we will see you next week in our next episode of Exploring Avatar. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good night or a good morning.